Operation Car Wash, or Lava Jato, one of the largest anti-corruption investigations in the world, has swept through Brazil's corporate and political elite, bringing the same rule of law to all. Central to these prosecutions over the past 4 years, federal Judge Sergio Moro has helped change the public perception of criminal accountability. Judge Moro joins us today to discuss how confronting power through the values of integrity and accountability have shaped his view of leadership. Judge Moro, thank you very much for joining us.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Could you please tell us a bit about your educational background and career trajectory before Operation Car Wash? How and why did you become interested in fighting corruption?
Well, I'm a judge for a long time. At first, I worked a lot on tax case, civil cases. But since 2002, I started to work only with criminal cases. And as a federal judge, we have a lot of interesting cases, drug cases, cases involving, for example, drug lords. But also we have a lot of cases involving corruption, bribery, money laundering. And it's natural that when you start to work with this subject, you also start to study more about it. So it was a natural behavior, for example, to study cases like the clean hands operation, manipulate, also cases involving US bribery law.
Together with this big challenge, legal big challenge, I mean, other challenges came to your life with the magnitude of this investigation, including, right, fame, including a lot of work, including security concerns. How did you manage to cope with those other challenges? And also, what has been most helpful to you to deal with them?
In my belief, I am only a part of an institutional framework. This is collective action. This is the work of Brazilian institutions, not only work of a judge, an isolated judge. They're the work of the prosecutors, the policemen, other judges, judges in the appeal courts, in the superior courts, and the back from Brazilian public opinion. Of course, no judge could try the cases based on public opinion. You have to try the cases based on law and on evidence. But the public opinion work as a kind of shield against improper influence from the political power or even the business community. So I think it's with the understanding that you're only a part of this work, it helps you to get along with it.
You talked about the role of the popular support, right, in giving you the strength and the persistence to continue working with this immense challenge. I was wondering if there are some role models to you that were also a source of inspiration.
Let me say that I have a great admiration, for example, for an Italian judge, Giovanni Falcone. Giovanni Falcone was a role model for judges all around the world. He was Italian judge and he worked at Sicily in the 80s and the 90s. And when you look at the picture at that moment, the mafia, the Cosa Nostra, seemed to be invincible. They killed politicians, judges, prosecutors, police officers. The bosses were never held accountable. And because of the work of Judge Falcone and his colleagues, a lot of them, let me cite, for example, Judge Paulo Borsolino, the mafia rule was put to an end. Unfortunately, he was killed by the mafia later because of his success. Mafia still exists in Italy, unfortunately, but it's not anymore considered to be invincible. And so this rule of impunity was broken in Italy, and I understand, not only me, but a lot of judges, we usually understand that he is a model for all of judges. He was very brave, and he was very efficient in his work.
Today, there are millions of people in Brazil that see you as the role model. How do you feel about this?
Of course, it's an honor to be considered like this, but let me again state clear, it's the work of a lot of persons, not only my work, but it's also teach you or teach us that the behavior, the honest behavior, the fight for a good cause could inspire others. So you could have a reasonable expectation that if you persist, if you stand for the right values, you will inspire others. And in certain way, I think that's what happened in Brazil, because millions of Brazilians went to the streets to protest against corruption and to support the car washing investigation, the Lava Jato probe. And so when people asked me, I say, no, it's not a victory for judges, prosecutors, or police. It's a conquest by Brazilian democracy.
And Judge Moro, you just mentioned it was not just you. It is a teamwork. My question to you is, to what do you attribute the successful teamwork in this case? What made the team work well?
Focus was important.
Okay.
So you, for example, you create a task force of dedicated prosecutors and policemen to work only on that case. The resources are always limited, and to face these complex crimes, it's necessary to have a focus. And as I said, the strong support from public opinion, the quality of the evidence. We receive a lot of international cooperation.
How do you define your own leadership style, but also how people working in your team, how do they see you as a leader? How do they describe you as a leader?
I am on this court since 2002, and then I was able, with time, to have a very good team of public employees to work with me. So they help, for example, in drafting my decisions or doing the bureaucratic work of a criminal court. Well, and when you do the right thing, this also help inspire other people to do their part.
If you ask them or your assessment of what do they think of you as a leader?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I'm not sure if I can answer. I try to always be humble, be honest with them, and to share the difficulties, and to be optimistic, but also with some skepticism, because this work is very hard and we don't know about the future. I really think that we broke a path of impunity for these crimes, but it's impossible to foresee the future. But at least you're doing the right thing and you have a chance to change a corrupted environment. So I suppose they are all inspired becoming a part of this work.
How do you see this relationship, private sector, public sector, going forward in Brazil? Are you optimistic?
One common answer that I received on the positions was that you pay the bribes because it was the rule of game, or you receive the bribes because it was a common practice, it was kind of, it was institutionalized. Well, when you have this criminal case, giant criminal case, and people are being held accountable for the first time, and very powerful people, maybe you are changing the rule of behavior, and maybe corruption could start to be an exception and not a rule in the relation between the government and the business community. I really believe that something is changing in Brazil. So Brazil could get better results on its economy, on the public service, and to have a better quality in our democracy.
What do you see the role of business schools like INSEAD, what we should be teaching and discussing with our students?
I suppose you have a great responsibility because this is a distinguished institution on these fields of business, so it could influence how business will be conducted in the world now and in the next future. And despite the pursuit for achievements in business like profits, you also have to think about the moral standards that you work, and definitely integrity is very important, not only because I really believe that clean business are good for profits, but also that's the right thing to do. And as an institution which is a leader on the business community, you have a great responsibility to send also this message.
Thank you. And my last question. Which advice would you give to young leaders?
Former President Theodore Roosevelt, he once said, there is no shame on the enforcement of the law. The shame lies in toleration, not in correction. Not exactly this, but fighting against corruption is an honor to a nation and not a disgrace. And I understand that that something very important is going on in Brazil, and you need to see the bright picture. Of course, all these cases involving grand corruption, widespread corruption, are shameful for the country, but we are doing our homework. We are working hard, and with some costs, personal costs also. We are working hard to improve the rule of law in Brazil, and this will be good for everyone, not only for Brazilians themselves, but for the whole world.
Judge Moro, thank you so much. It was an honor to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.